Alright, hello everyone, welcome to this video on object-oriented programming with C++. In the last two videos we have been discussing about this demo class in C++ that we did. In the demo class we wrote a few C++ program where we saw a few features of C++. Right, so in the last two classes we have been discussing all these features that we saw in the two demo classes. So we are going to continue with that, and in this class we are going to talk about this memory management in C++. But before we begin talking about memory management in C++, let us talk about memory management in C. You already studied this in your first year, right? So we are going to talk about this a little bit before we move ahead and talk about memory management in C++. So what happens is that when you write a C program, right, you are going to write your C program in a text file, and that is your source file. So your C program is going to be in some kind of a file called myfile.c, for example, and then you are going to compile this source file, your text file, and then your compiler is going to give you a executable file, right? So in Windows, the executable file is most probably going to have this extension .exe, all right, and then in Linux, okay, the extension does not matter, but then if you are using this GCC compiler, then you are going to have this executable file. If you don't specify any argument, if you while compiling, then your executable file is going to be a.out, right? So now you have an executable file after this compiling your program, and now you can run this executable file. So when you run this executable file, your program actually runs on your processor. All right. Now, when you run your program on your computer, right? The computer is now running your program. So your program is going to need a certain amount of memory, right? So your operating system that is on your computer is going to allocate a certain amount of memory in RAM, okay, to your program. Now, inside your program is not going to see the actual physical address that is there, okay, actual RAM location where all these memories are located. Instead, it is going to get something called virtual address. So there is this concept of virtual address. Okay, this enables us to do very useful thing. For example, uh, say your program needs 4 GB of memory, but your computer has only 2 GB of memory. So what virtual addressing enables us to do is we can, because of some concept called paging, alright, we can only store the required memory. Okay, we are not going to use the entire 4 GB in one instance, right? We are going to access only 1 byte at a time, all right, or bytes at a time. So if we need a integer, we will get only 4 bytes, right? So we are not accessing the entire 4 GB at one instance at one go. So the parts that you are accessing out of this 4 GB in your 2 GB computer, okay, only those parts will be kept in RAM. The parts that you are not accessing right now, or you did not access recently, those part will be kept in your secondary memory, right? Your hard drive. So this is a very good feature. This enables us to uh, create programs that use memory larger than what is available for us. Now, because of this, okay, our program, inside our program, say in some line of my program, I will say go to memory, number 3 GB. Okay, go to location number 3 GB. Say this is what there is in one line of my program. Now this 3 GB that I have written in my program, okay, this is not actual physical memory, right? Physical memory means the actual address in RAM. So your RAM, each byte in your RAM is going to have an address, and then inside my program I am going to do this. Say I have written this code, int z equal to x plus y. Okay, so this is going to be ultimately translated into something like add uh, location this to location this and store to location of this. Right? So this is ultimately what is going to be our program is going to be compiled into. Okay, so this kind of low level instruction. So the thing is that in my compiled program, okay, in my program, inside my program, when I refer to this address, so this computer that I was talking about, okay, which had 2 GB of RAM, and then my program needed 4 GB of RAM. I am going to say access this data from location number 3 GB. Okay, so this location number 3 GB cannot be a physical address, right? My physical address can be from 0 up to 2 GB. So, but my program is 4 GB. So in my program, it makes sense that I can access something that would be in location 3 GB, but in actual RAM, location 3 GB will not exist. Okay. So this kind of address is called a virtual address. Okay. So in my program, I am going to, when I look at some address, right? So I can look at an address, correct? Say I write int p equal to 10, and then I write in star q. This is a pointer, integer pointer. A pointer is a address pointing to some location in which a integer is stored, right? So is pointing to the address of p. Now what I can do is I can print this address, right? So I can use printf, and I will write uh, print this address pointer in this pointer, and then I write q. Okay, this will print the address that is there in q, that is it will print the address of p, right? So when I execute this line, when I execute this printf percentage p of some address, what you are going to see on the output, this printf is of course going to print something to our standard output into our terminal. So what this address that is going to be printed is going to be a virtual address, right? It is not going to be a physical address. Alright. So that being said, uh, let us once again talk from the beginning. We have a program. Our program is going to be in some text file, our source file, something.c. We are going to compile it into an executable file, a.out or something.exe, and then we are going to run this executable file in our computer, right? So when we run this executable file, the operating system is going to bring that file and put it in the processor, and it is going to allocate a certain amount of memory to our program. Now this memory, when we are going to address this memory, okay, so there will be lots of addresses. So these are called virtual addresses. We talked about what is virtual address. Now all these things you are going to learn at a far greater details in operating system subject and your computer organization and architecture subject. Alright. So yeah, that is what we have. Now inside our program we talked about this. When we refer to some address, we are not going to look at the physical address. We are going to look at virtual address, right? So in my program, my address space, these addresses that I'm going to see, will start from 0 and will go up to a certain limit that is allowed for me. Okay, so say this is the highest address, say this is uh, a very large number. Okay, and this is low address, this is going to be starting from 0. Okay. So my program is going to see that it starts from address 0. Now if I am running 4 programs, all 4 of them are going to see that they start from address 0, but then in my RAM only one of this program can be in address 0, right? So yeah, this is what virtual address is going to give. Virtual address enables my program to have a address space. Virtual uh, address will allow each program to see that it starts from address 0 and then it goes up to a certain limit. That limit is given to us by CPU. Okay, now you can do one thing. If you are running Linux on your computer, you can run this command ls cpu. Okay, so if you run this uh, command, you are going to see that your virtual address size and your physical address size, your virtual address size is going to be larger than your physical address size, right? So forget all this, you will learn all this in some other subject, specifically in OS and computer organization and architecture, COA. But then this is what it is. Okay, for us only this point matters, that our program is going to be allocated some memory, and this memory is going to start from 0 and is going to go up to a certain limit. This limit is given to us by what processor we are using. Alright, so yeah, this is what we have. Now this memory that is allocated, okay, this that you can see over here, this memory is segmented into different sections. Alright, your entire memory is divided into different sections. So this is what my total memory looks like. This starts from location 0, goes up to a very high location, and then at the lowermost location your actual code is going to be there. Okay, so your program is going to run on this CPU. So your program has some code. That code that you have written, ultimately what you have written is going to be converted into uh, machine code. Okay, essentially assembly, but then assembly is the mnemonic of machine code. If you did not understand what I said, it does not matter. Okay, so your code is going to be there, right? We need to bring this code. Your executable file is there in your hard drive, but your processor cannot execute your program from your hard drive, right? Your processor will execute from RAM. So RAM is closer to your processor, so processor prefers RAM. Hard drive is very slow. So we will bring that code and we will keep it in our memory. So this is the memory allocated to us by the uh, operating system. Here first we are going to put this code that we are going to execute, our program code, right? So that is what is kept here. Okay, first this code is kept, then uh, we will talk about all this with example. uh, this initialized global data and uninitialized global and static data, initialized and uninitialized global variables, static variables, all of them will be given space. So this initialized data will be given some space, and then this is uninitialized data will be given some space. Okay, so yeah, this is what we have. Then there is two more very important parts that is going to be there. There is going to be heap memory that is going to grow upwards, and there is going to be stack memory that is going to go downwards. Okay, and above the stack memory there are going to be arguments that you pass into to your program. Okay, not the arguments that you pass into your function, right? you already know, hopefully you noticed that C program can receive command line arguments. So your command line arguments and environment variables will be in the topmost address. Alright, so this is what we have. I am going to talk about this in far greater details at a later point of time, means in this video itself, but at a later point of time. But let us go ahead and see if what I just said is true. Okay, what did I say here? That my program is going to say, let me write a very simple program. Okay, so I am going to include studio.h. Then I am going to declare some global variable int x equal to 10. Okay, this is the initialized global variable, and then I write in z, this is uninitialized. Okay, and then I am going to have int main, and then I am going to create a local variable inside this main function int I, and yeah, I am going to return with a 0. Since it's a return type is int, I have to return 0. Okay, now I have three variables in this program, right? One is initialized global variable, one is uninitialized global variable, not initialized anywhere in my program, and then I have this local variable that is local in this main function. Alright, so there are three variables that are declared in my program. Now this is going to go into this part of the memory. Alright, this is going to go into this part of the memory, and this is going to go into the stack. Alright, so that is something we are going to see. Forget this going to the stack, we are going to discuss that very soon. But then understand there are these global variables that are going to go into this initialized data segment, this initialized data segment, and then this code, this compiled code is going to go into this text segment. Alright, so this is what my entire program, this memory structure is going to look like. And apart from that, I am going to have something called stack memory and heap memory. And if I had something over here, say uh, int argc, this arguments that are command line arguments that are passed to my program. So all these are going to go into this part. Alright, so these three parts, I hope you understood what is going to go into these three parts. Right. So let us look at this with an example. And yeah, let us look at this with an example. So what you see on your screen is a C program. I have included stdio. Then I have three global variables. Global variable 1 initialized to 10, global variable 2 not initialized, global variable 3 initialized to 20. Okay. Then I have a function, and I have another function main. So I have these two function. One is function 1, and then this other function main. Alright. So in main, what do I have? I have one local variable I, integer. Then I have this code, lots of code. Okay, very simple to understand. Let us look at this code one by one. In this line, what I am going to do is I am going to print the size of integer. So this is printing 4. That means my integer takes 4 bytes. Alright. Then in the next line, I am printing the address of global variable 1. So global variable 1 is uh, initialized, right? So what is going to happen? This is the total memory that is allocated to me. Here the code is going to be there, and on top of that, this global variable 1 will be allocated some space, right? This is G var 1. Now after that I have global variable 2, but this is not initialized. After that I have global variable 3. This will be allocated some space on top of global variable 1. So this is low address, this is 000 address, and this is high address. Okay, so global variable 1 is going to be allocated. Then what is going to be allocated? Is global variable 2 going to be allocated, or global variable 3 is going to be allocated on top of global variable 1? So remember from the last slide, all these initialized are going to be allocated address above code segment, and after this initialized, the uninitialized are going to be allocated these global variables, right? So this global variable 3, this is initialized, global variable 1 is initialized, so global variable 1 is given this address, global variable 3 is going to be given the next address on top of global variable 1, right? So all these global variables are allocated space in my memory. Done. There are all these initialized global variables are allocated space in my memory. So I have two of them, two initialized global variables, global variable 1 and global variable 3. They are allocated this space here and here. All right. Then after I am done completing allocating space to all these initialized global variables and initialized static variables, I will be allocating space to this uninitialized global variable. What are the uninitialized global variables that I have in my program? I have only one of them, this global variable 2. So that is, okay, sorry, this is global variable 3, not global variable 2, right? So first global variable 1 will be allocated space on top of this code segment. After that global variable 3 is going to be allocated. These two are the initialized global variable. Then I am going to allocate space. After I am done completing allocating space to this initialized one, I am going to allocate space to the uninitialized global variable. So global variable 2 is then going to be allocated space in my memory. Alright. So done. These three are allocated space in my data segment. This uninitialized global variable and initialized global variable, these two together forms the data segment, okay, above the code segment. Now next, what are the other things that I have? First, this main program is going to be executed, right? When I execute this program, right, what is the first function that is going to be called? The first function that is going to be called is the main function, always in C, right? So in this main function, what are the local variables that are there? There is only one local variable, okay, I. So I is going to be allocated this high address, okay, this is the stack, and these local variables of my functions are going to be allocated memory on the stack. Global variables and static variables will be allocated memory on this data segment, okay. This is data segment, okay, this is code segment. So in my stack, my local variable, the first function that I have called is main. So in my main function, I have this one local variable I, and that is allocated this memory on the stack. After that, what I have done here is I have called the function 1. Okay, this is function 1, and I have called this function. So when I call this function, what is going to happen is there is this one more variable, local variable in function 1. So this variable will be given memory on the stack, okay. So stack grows in this way, right? So there is going to be some stack pointer, and that is going to keep decreasing as I push things into the stack. My stack pointer was here, it is going to keep decreasing. So I began at a very high address. So I began at a high address. my address is going to keep decreasing. This is high address. Alright, so this is how all this memory is going to be allocated, right? So let us verify whether this is true by printing out all these addresses one by one. Okay, so let us look at the output of all this. In this line, what I am doing is I am simply printing the size of an integer. So integer is 4 byte. Okay, then in this line, in the next line, I am printing the address of global variable 1. So the address of global variable 1, it turns out is hexadecimal 601040. So this is 601040. Alright, then after that I am printing the address of global variable 2. Global variable 2's address is 60104C. Alright, and then global variable 3, the address is 601044. 601044. Okay, and below this I have the code segment. Alright, so you can see that this global variable 1 has the lowest address. On top of that, I have this global variable 3, 4 bytes after global variable 1, because global variable 1 is an integer, it takes 4 bytes. And then after that, 4 bytes is given for global variable 3, and 4 bytes is kept as this separator between uh, your initialized and uninitialized data segment. So after that, I have this global variable 2. Okay, it is on top of global variable 3 as we saw, and I can see, as we discussed, right, we discussed that global variable 1 is going to be at the bottom most, then global variable 3 is going to be there, then global variable 2 is going to be there, right? These two are initialized and this is uninitialized. So when I print these addresses, I can see that this is in fact true, right? This is the lowest most address. On top of that, I have this address, and once I am done keeping this initialized global variables, I am allocating space to this uninitialized global variable gvar2, right? Next, let us look at this address. This is so we are done these three addresses. Then let us look at the address of int I. Okay, so here I am printing the address of int I. It looks like the address of int I is this. So this is a very big number. Okay, so this is 7f fcb 5b a290c. Okay, so this is what I have, a really big number. Okay, and these are all hexadecimals. Next, in my main program, okay, I am calling this function, right? So when I call this function, this is given some address in the stack. So this is also a local variable in some function. So when a function is called, its local variables are allocated memory on the stack. Okay, and once that function is completed executing, that is automatically removed from the stack. All right, so yeah, this is what I have. This I call function 1 here. So function 1 is going to be executed. This variable j is going to be allocated some memory in stack, and let us print this address of j. So the address of j is 7ffcb5 ba28ec. Okay, so yeah, j has a lower address than I. Okay, so I can see my stack grows downwards. So as I put more and more things in the stack, uh, the address of the things, as I keep them pushing, the address of those things will keep decreasing. Okay, so the first thing that I put will have the highest address. It will be at the top of the stack. Then the stack is going to grow downwards. Right, so this is what I have. Right, so this is all the addresses that I have printed. Now I hope this stack it makes sense. All right. Now let us try to understand stack with a little bit more details. In this function, once again, I have these global variables. They will be allocated uh, so code is going to be allocated the bottommost addresses, the lowest addresses. Then all these global variables initialized will go in the bottom, and on top of that, the uninitialized uh, global variables will be there. So yes, all this will be there. Then uh, what is going to happen? I'm going to start executing this main function. When I start executing this main function, I'm going to see that there is this one local variable, and I'm going to allocate address to this local variable. Alright, so I'm going to execute this line. When I execute this line, I'm going to print this address. Okay, this address is 7 FFEE88A501C. Alright. So next what do I do? Inside this function, I am calling one more function. This func one. This function. So in this, I have this global variable called J. Alright. So this is going to be allocated memory in this stack. And then I am going to print this address. So this address is 7FFEE88A4FFC. Okay, so I can see this address is smaller than this address. Okay, this is 501C, this is 4FFC. Okay, so yeah, stack is going down now. So now there is one thing that I want you to notice. Uh, this I is just one integer, right? So 4 bytes should have been allocated, but then it seems this distance is between this I and j, the distance is more than 4 bytes. That is because apart from when you call a function, lots of other things has to be stored in the stack. More specifically, two very important things in case of your uh, x86 processor, that is the processor that you have on your laptop, this AMD or Intel processor. Okay, they are going to store things like stack pointer, base pointer, all these things into the stack. So apart from simply storing this data, lots of other things are also going to be stored in the stack, but let us not go into those, right? That is not what we are interested in this subject. Those are things that you are going to study, uh, not even in COA. Okay, you are not going to study all these things in that much details in COA. You will study these things at a greater details in microcontroller. So eventually at some point of time you are going to study this subject microcontroller, and you will see all these things in microcontroller. And then there is this course on NPTEL, 4 weeks course called C Programming and Assembly Language. Okay, in that course you can see how your C program is converted into uh, machine code, actual machine code. Okay, optimized machine code, and then how all this addressing actually take place, and what happens inside this processor when your C program is executed in a processor. So this is a very interesting course, but I don't think you should watch it, go through that course now. Okay, so once you finish studying this computer organization and architecture and operating system and microprocessor, after studying these three subjects, I recommend that you go through that course. That is a very short course of 4 weeks. It's on NPTEL, and it's by IIT Madras. Okay, so go through that course. You will understand all these things at a far greater details. Alright. but then we don't need that much detail in our course in object oriented programming with C++. But then still, let's go ahead and try to understand what is happening here. So right now, this function is being called from main. Okay, so this variable j is allocated, this is a local variable in this function1, and it is allocated this memory in my stack. Alright, so in this line I am printing the address of this j, and then the address I can see is this 7FFEE 88 A4 FFC. Alright, so done. After printing this address, my program, this program, right, is done this function is done executing. Right, now I can return from this function. So I return from this function. So this line is complete. The execution, I called function1 and then I return from function1. So calling and returning of function1 is complete. So after I return from function1, what happens is this j, this address that was allocated to j, okay, it is now freed up. Okay, now this is no longer kept in the stack. So if there is this thing called stack pointer, it was when main was executing, it was here. When function1 was executing, this stack pointer moved from this place to this place, it was pointing here. Now I am done using function1 had this local variable j, so j was allocated some space in stack. Now I am done using this executing this function. So this local variable that was allocated space in stack is no longer needed. So this space will be freed up, and then this stack pointer is going to go back and point here. Okay, so next what is going to happen in this line, I am going to execute function 2. Okay, this 2 function looks the same, and here like function1, here also I have one local variable in k. And now what is going to happen? Now after before calling function 2, okay, when I was executing function 1, I had, this is what my stack looked like, right? I had some memory allocated for I, which is a local variable of main, and I had some memory allocated for j, which was the local variable of function 1. Now once I am done using this function 1, this j will be removed, right? So after returning from function 1, this is what my stack is going to look like again. Okay, so yeah, this is what I have. Then next, when I execute function 2, I am still in main. So inside main I am calling function 2. Okay, so when I am call function 2, I see that there is this local variable called k in function 2, and so that is going to be allocated some space in my stack. Alright, now here is this interesting thing that I want you to observe. This k and this k of function 2, okay, and this j of function 1, they are occupying the same memory in stack, right? So when I print the address, I can see over here that both j in function 1 and k in function 2, both of them are given the same address, both of them have the same address, and that makes sense when I look at this diagram. Alright, so I was allocated some address, then k is allocated this other address. Now both j and k, they are given the same address, right? So when I print the address of j and k, I get the same address as my output. Okay, I suggest that you copy this, you write down this program in some see in some IDE and then compile it with a C compiler and then look at the output for yourself. Of course, this is not the output that you will see. You may see some different output, but then output of J, the address of J and K, they are going to be same, right? Although this number, it is not necessary that it is going to be this exact number. Alright, whatever be the number, this and this numbers, these two are going to be same. Okay, and I hope it makes sense to you why these two are same. Okay, I hope you understood that. If you did not understand, then rewind and try to pause and think what is happening. Okay, so understand a few important points. Local variables are allocated memory in the stack. Okay, and global variables are allocated memory in this data segment. And then when this function 2 was executing, this k will be allocated this memory in stack, like j was allocated memory, so k is also allocated memory. And then in this line this is executed, I can see j and k has the same address. Then once my function 2 is done executing, now this is going to be deallocated, right? So once I am done executing with function 2, once I return from function 2, this is what the stack is going to look like. Okay, and then when I return from main, my stack is going to become empty. But then when I return from main, my program is also going to end, and then the operating system is going to deallocate this entire memory. Okay, this entire memory is now available for use by some other program. Alright, once I return from main. Okay, so once I return from main, the stack is going to get empty, but my program is also going to end. So yeah, this is what I have. Now, with this knowledge, let us discuss one interesting thing about C program. Okay. So let us say, sorry. Let us say instead of this, these were my function now. Okay. In j equal to 10 and printf percentage d j. So I am printing j, and then my function 2 is this. In k printf percentage d k. Okay, previously I was printing this address. Okay, now I am printing the value. Okay, and then one more difference, I am previously this j in function 1, I did not initialize it, so garbage value was there. Now I am initializing it, so I am putting some actual value in that place. Now what is going to be the output of this program? That is my question. So in this line I am going to print this like before, some address in stack where I is allocated memory. So that is going to be printed in this line. What is going to be printed in this line? In this line, let us draw this stack. This is the stack. I is allocated some address, and that is going to be printed. So this address is here. Okay, so in this address I is there, so yeah, that will be printed. Now when I am executing this function, j is going to be allocated some address, okay, below I, and this is initialized to 10, right? So right now I have in this area, in this address, this is the address, these two are same. Okay, this is the address. So in this I have allocated 10. Alright, so not allocated, I have set this address equal to 10, integer 10. Okay, in this line. And in the next line, what do? I am printing this 10. So my output is going to look like this. I in, because of this line, it is going to print I in main memory, some address. Okay, then in the next line, in this function 1 is going to be called. So when I call function 1, this local variable j is going to be allocated some memory in the stack below I. Okay, and then I am initializing this equal to 10 in this line over here. So this is now 10, and then in the next line, in this line, I am going to print 10. So 10 is printed. Okay, now I am done executing function 1. I return from function 1. This is deallocated. This memory is deallocated. My stack pointer is back pointing here, and then I am calling function 2. Right. So when I call function 2, what is happening is I have some local variable k. So k is going to be allocated this address that was previously allocated to j, right, in function 1. So this same address is going to be allocated to function k in from function 2. We discussed this. I hope we understood why this is going to be true, right? So next line, what do I have? I have %d k. So I am going to print the value of k. Now, yes, I did not initialize k, and therefore, logically speaking, k is going to be, this line is going to print some garbage value, right? So I don't know what k should print, but then I can make this guess what this line is going to print, right? Because previously this part of memory had this value 10. Okay, the stack pointer got decremented if after this function 1 after completing this execution of function 1, my stack pointer got decremented, right? So from a logical perspective, this memory that was allocated to j was deallocated. It was no longer allocated to j of function 1, but my processor is not going to erase what is there, right? That is the reason we get garbage value. Okay, because whatever was there previously was there. Processor did not make any change. But then what was there previously? This value 10 was there previously, correct? So when I call function 2, this location uh, that was allocated to j of function 1, that same location is allocated to k of function 2. Now what is in that location? In function 1 I had kept this value 10 in that location, right? So although it would seem that I am going to get garbage value, but in fact 10 is going to be printed when I execute this line. Okay, this is something I hope you understand right now why this is going to be true. I want you to execute this function as this program as well. Okay, this is very interesting, right? Although logically speaking, I did not initialize k, so when I try to print the value of k, it is garbage value. But then because of how this function ran and uh, where this k is allocated space in memory and what was there before k was allocated this memory, I can make a prediction of what is going to be printed. Okay, although garbage value, but I know what that garbage value is going to be. Alright, so yeah, this is what I have. I hope this makes sense. So if it makes sense to you, then you know a great deal about stack, how this stack in C program work, right? Okay. Now let us look at this program, uh, and I hope you will be able to uh, uh, answer where all these different variables in this program are going to be allocated memory, right? In which part of memory. So my entire program is going to be allocated a certain memory. This is a low address and this is a high address. So at the very lowest level, code is going to be there. Then what is going to be there? The initialized global variable. This is going to be there, right? So these three together, my list is going to be allocated memory in this data segment, right? This is initialized data segment. So here this is initialized, this array is initialized, and it is going to be allocated this space. Then after this initialized, global variable are given uh, this memory location, memory right above this code segment. After this initialized, I am going to have this uninitialized global variables. So this is an uninitialized global variable. So this is allocated next. Alright, uninitialized data segment, and this is also called BSS. Okay. So more specifically, my list 0 is going to be here, my list 1 is going to be next, and my list 2 is going to be here. Okay. So after my list 0, 1 and 2, these are the initialized global variables. After this, this uninitialized global variable, this is this int children is going to be on top of this initialized global variable. So these two together makes my data segment. Okay. This part is my data segment. Alright. Then what do I have? My main is going to start executing. Okay. In my main function, I have two variables. So it so happens that uh, the one that is called later is given the higher address. So salary is going to be given this address, and age is going to be given this address. Okay. Then what is going to happen is multiply by 2 salary is this function is going to be called. So when I call this function, I have this another local variable in this function, multiply by 2. So this is going to be allocated some space. Okay. This is going to be allocated some space, and once I'm done, this is going to be deallocated. But there is one more thing that I want to talk about. I already said that when calling functions, right? So when this multiply by 2 will be called from main function, apart from allocating this space in my stack for local variable, this base pointer and stack pointer are going to be pushed to the stack. So yeah, that is there, forget that. But then this parameter that was pushed, that is also going to be allocated space, okay, in the stack. So yeah, this is what my stack is going to look like when executing multiply by 2. Okay, this function multiply by 2. So once I am done executing this function multiply by 2, Okay, so these two are going to be deallocated, and my function is my stack is going to look like this again. Okay, and then I'm going to return from this main, and my stack is going to become empty, and I am going to get out of my program. Okay, my program is going to exit, and since it will return 0, that means my program has exited successfully. Okay, so this is what memory management looks like. So this was just a revision of what we talked about in the last two slides. Now let us talk about this one more part of memory that we did not talk about till now. Okay, so we have, I believe we have done a very uh, detailed discussion of what is going to go into data segment. There are two parts of the data segment: the initialized data segment and the BSS uninitialized data segment. So we have a good grasp of what is going to go into these two parts. Then we talked about how this stack is going to grow. Okay, now let us go ahead and talk about this other part of memory, right? So we talked about code segment. Simply my code is going to be there. Then we talked about this data segment. We talked about stack. Now what is remaining is heap. Okay, now heap, before I talk about heap, let me give you a motivation for why we might need heap. Okay, so say you are making a list of a array of students in your class. Now so you are going to keep this array of marks of student in your class. So you are writing a program to find the average marks of all the students in your class. Now in order to do that, you will need an array, right? So what do you make the size of the array to be? Now if your uh, array is too large, say you have made the size of the array equal to 100, and there are only 20 students in your class, then you have wasted lots of space in this array. Okay, your array might be in, if you have declared this array as a global variable, that you have wasted lots of space in data segment. If you have uh, declared it in as a uh, local variable, then you have wasted lots of space in your stack. Okay, so yeah, uh, on the other hand, if my array is too small, I have made the array size equal to 10, and there are 20 students, then my array is useless. I cannot accommodate marks of all the students, right? So yeah, this is the problem with fixed size array. But then if we want to uh, declare it as a local variable or as a global variable, we need to uh, tell beforehand what is the size of the array is that it is going to be. Okay, now it may so happen that in our program, what do? We ask the user enter the name, number of students, and then the user is going to enter 20, and then I think it is a better design if after asking the user, we allocate a array of size 20 itself. Okay, so we are not wasting any memory, and then our array is going to accommodate all the students, right? So yeah, now what am I doing? I'm going to allocate memory for my array of marks, and then this array of marks that I am going to allocate memory to. When am I allocating this memory? I am allocating it at runtime. Okay, when I am running, after running this program. So had I allocated it in global, say as array of size 100, then I would have said beforehand. So even before running this program, before my program starts running, this memory will be allocated, right? A array of 100 size would have been allocated. But now, because I am going to allocate it in runtime, right? So uh, that is one advantage, right? I am allocating in runtime exact size of the array that I need. Now I cannot do this in stack or in data segment. During runtime, I can dynamically allocate this memory, okay, in heap. So I have this other part heap, that in this area I can allocate memory for my uh, this arrays and everything dynamically in my runtime. Okay. Now there is no strict boundary between stack and heap. So this is something to remember. So if stack has grown up to this point, say, okay, after executing a certain number of functions, say first function has taken this much space, second function has taken this much space, and now I am taking this third function. So from my first function I am calling second function, from second function I am calling third function. So three functions are called. So this is the amount of memory that is allocated to stack right now, right? So heap is going to grow in this way. Okay, there is no fixed border between stack and heap. It can keep growing, but it may so happen that there is this one variable, there is one variable for which I have allocated this space in heap. For another variable I have allocated this space. For third variable I have allocated this space. For fourth variable I have allocated this space. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 variable. Now after allocating for this 4 variable, my see heap and stack, they are touching each other. There is no more gap in between. Okay, so now if I try to allocate space for one more variable, there is no space left in heap, right? So that is going to give rise to an problem. So I am going to have an error, or not an error, I am going to uh, get a null. Okay, so that's a problem with heap. Now let us go ahead and create a this program itself. Okay, but instead of uh, keeping all this data structure and then all these things in stack, we are going to keep these things in heap. Okay, we are going to allocate memory for this in heap. This is what the program looks like. Okay, so let us start by uh, executing main. So there are two functions, main and multiply by 2. So what I have done, I have created a pointer variable. Okay, and this, using this malloc, I am creating space for a integer in uh, heap. Okay, so I am saying give me some memory from heap. How much memory? This much memory. So size of int will return 4. So I am saying allocate 4 bytes from the heap. Okay, so this is what my memory looks like. There is going to be code, there is going to be data, and then after this I am going to be allocated uh, memory for each. Okay, then what am I saying? I am saying allocate double into 3. So double, say it takes 8 bytes. So I am saying allocate 3 into 8, that is 24 bytes in heap, and give it to me. Okay, so this is where heap starts, and heap goes upwards. Okay, stack, we said stack goes downwards, so heap grows upwards. So I am allocating 3 into size of double in my heap. All right. So now this malloc is going to return a pointer. Okay, and then we cast it with uh, this the pointer type that we want. So I want to access this thing as an integer. This block of memory that was allocated to me, I'm going to store an integer, so it's better I have an integer pointer to it. So I'm converting this pointer into an integer pointer. Similarly, this I am going allocating space for 3 doubles. Okay, so I want it to return as a double pointer. So it returns a pointer, I am converting it into a double pointer. So okay, a pointer of type double. So this is what I have. This variable mylist is pointing to this address. Okay. So this variable age is pointing to this address. The variable mylist is pointing to this address. Okay. And then what do? We already discussed this, that the name of an array is a pointer in itself. So if I have a pointer, I can use it as an array, right? So I had this mylist as a pointer, so I can access that as an array. Okay, a array name is a pointer, so a pointer is a array name. It makes sense. Okay, so uh, mylist 0, I am keeping. So sorry, let me write this over here. This is the memory allocated for age. This is the memory allocated for age, right? And then in this line I am putting 30 in this memory. Okay, this is the memory allocated for my list. So there is 3 double space for 3 doubles. In this I am putting 1.2, here I am putting 2.3, and here I am putting 3.4. Alright, so this is what I have done in this 3 line. Then next what do? Uh, I am creating one more space for a double, only a double. Okay, so I am putting 1234.56, 1234.56, and I am calling this salary. Alright, and then here what am I doing? I am multiplying by 2. I am calling this multiply by 2 function. Okay, and what am I passing as a parameter? I am passing this pointer to salary. Okay, I am passing the address of this thing to this. So that makes sense because this parameter, it takes a pointer uh, as an argument. Okay, this function takes a pointer as an argument, so I am passing this salary, and salary I can see it's a pointer. So yeah, it makes sense. Now in the next line, what am I doing? I am allocating size for one more uh, area. Okay, one more double. So I'm calling this twice. Okay, and I am putting what? I am putting this. So this is allocated in this line. Memory is allocated in this line. I am putting this input into true, value of input. So this salary, this address was given as parameter. So I am getting what is the value in this address. What is the value in this address? 1234.56. Okay, so I am multiplying that by 2. So I get what? Yeah, I think this is what I get if I multiply by 2. Is this what I get? Yeah, it does not matter. Okay, so whatever I will get by multiplying this by 2, that is going to be stored in this location. Alright, so all these are in heap. Okay, So then what do? I return this twice. This twice is the address of this thing. Okay, this address is now returned, and that I am storing in twice salary. Now here is my question: what is going to be there in stack? I am not storing this anything in stack, right? So is my stack going to be empty, or is there something that is going to be there in my stack? Okay, is there any local variable in these functions? That is the ultimate question that I am asking. I say there are. Okay, this pointer, this pointer, this pointer, and this pointer, these are pointers, okay, that are local variables in my main function, right? This is a pointer that is a local variable in my multiply by 2 function. Okay, don't be confused about this syntax. This just says that this function is going to return a pointer of uh, pointer pointing to some data which is of type double. Okay, so double pointer is being returned by this function. That is simply what this syntax means. But then let's go back to what I was talking about. That main function has 4 local variables, right? It is not as if main does not have any local variables at all. There are 4 local variables, but these local variables are not storing any uh, data. These are storing pointers. So in my stack, I am going to have this pointer twice salary. Then I am going to have salary. Then my list, and then age. Okay, and then when I call multiply by 2, this twice will be allocated. Okay, so what is going to be here? This particular cell, what is it going to hold? It is going to hold the address of this location. This is going to hold address of this location. This will hold address of this, and so on. All right. So these are going to hold this address. Now after I am done returning from this function, okay, so this function is going to return this address. This address was stored here, and this address is returned. After returning, this will be freed up, okay, and then because whatever is returned, this address was returned, right? This address of twice was being returned, and that I am storing in twice salary. So twice salary is now going to point to this address, okay, the address of this block. Okay, and then what do I have? Yeah, this is this twice, sorry, this space data was allocated uh, in here, this local variable. Once this function is done executing multiply by 2, this will be deallocated, and this is what my stack will look like after returning from this function. Okay, so this is stack, and this part is here. Okay, now you have hopefully noticed one thing, that when I return from a function call, okay, so when I call a function, the local variables of that function are allocated memory on the stack, and when I return from the function call, these local variables which were allocated this memory on the stack, they are deallocated. Okay, so that is good, but then this memory that is allocated on heap, right? So here I was allocating some memory on this heap, this thing, okay, I return from this function call, but this memory is not deallocated automatically. Okay, so it is still there. This is persistent. All right. So yeah, this is one problem that we have, and we will talk about how to handle this problem very soon. But look at this program. I hope this program makes absolute sense of what is happening in this program, right? It makes absolute sense to you. Now let us go ahead and continue this program. The main function is not complete. Here I am going to print the address of age. Okay, so age is here. I am going to print this address, and I am going to print the data of what is in age. Okay, this address of the data and address of the pointer variable. Okay, so in this line I am printing address of age pointer. Here I am printing address of list pointer, and here I am printing address of twice salary pointer. Alright, and I can see that these are very high values. Okay, twice salary has the highest address, so twice salary is at top. Then I have my list address, my list pointer on this address, and then age below this. Okay, so this is 7FF D5 DFE 9920. This is 9918, and this is 9910. Okay, so yeah, this is how all these things are in stack, right? Like we discussed, these these pointer variables are there in my stack. Okay, so address of age pointer in my stack, address of uh, my list pointer in stack, address of my salary in stack. Now let us look at the address of this data. This age data is here, this my list data is here, and then this twice salary data is here. Let us look at this address. Okay, now address of age I can see is far smaller than this. Okay, so age is over here 131 D010. Then this is age data, this is age pointer. Then here in D030 I have my list data. Okay, and then I have twice salary in address D070. Alright, so this is going to be the same, and this part is going to be same. Before. So this is what I have. So I can see this stack part, high, high address, and then this heap memory, low address. Then one more thing I want you to observe, stack, uh, the last local variable is given the highest address in stack. Okay, then this is given the second highest uh, address, this is given the third highest address, and this is given the lowest address in stack. Okay, so as if in the stack, in this way things are being put. Okay, on the other hand, as I am allocating this memory, right, in heap, so this is the first memory that is allocated in heap, this is the second, this is the third, and this is the fourth memory. but then I forgot to print the address of salary. Okay, so you print in your program, you print this and see for yourself. Try to first imagine what might be uh, the expected, not the exact. If you can predict the exact, you should be able to predict the exact, but then even if not exact, just make a guess of where it is going to be. Okay, all these things. So yeah, uh, this is going to have the lowest address. Okay, so the first thing in the heap is growing upwards. So when the first memory is allocated, that is the going to have the lowest address. Then on top of that, the second thing that is allocated memory will be on top of the first thing. Then the third thing will be on top of second thing, and finally the fourth thing will be on top of all the other things, right? And that makes sense here. The lowest address, the first thing was age, after that my list, after that salary would have been here, but I forgot to print that, and after that twice salary. Okay, so stack grows upwards. Okay, and as memory is allocated at runtime, uh, this memory will be allocated as this command to allocate memory. In C, the command is malloc. So as malloc command is seen, we will keep allocating memory in stack. All right. So this is what it is. Okay. Now, simple thing, not going to take much time. This thing. So we have already talked about this, right? So when main was being executed, it is going to be allocated some space in. Say I have this function main. Inside main, I am calling function one. Okay, and then function one. Inside here, I am calling function two. I have some code in here, I have some code in here, some code in here, code in here. Okay, this is what my program looks like. Uh, so the all the local variables of main will be allocated this part in stack. Then when this function one is called, all local variables of function one will be allocated this part in stack. Then inside function one, when function two is called, everything in function 2 will be allocated this part in stack. So stack is growing this way. Then when function 2 is uh, over, when execution of function 2 is over, and then this function 2 returns, okay, then this part of the stack is going to be freed up, right? And after that, when function 1 returns, this part is going to be freed up, right? So yeah, in stack I have this feature that when my function is finished executing, my memory is deallocated. So that's a very good feature, right? So I don't have to worry about memory management too much. But then we already saw that heap, when memory is allocated inside a function, say when that function is done executing, this memory is not deallocated, it is still there. Okay, so what do I have to do is this. So say this is age, this is salary, this is my list, and this is twice salary. Okay, in my program, if I keep doing this, okay, if I keep allocating memory in my heap over and over again, and if I don't deallocate this heap, then very soon what is going to happen, my entire memory is going to fill up, right? And then what is going to happen is I will say at some other point of time I want to call some function. Okay, so up to this point heap is used up to this point. So when I want to execute another function, there is no more space left. Okay, so uh, that function would have been allocated memory over here, right, below main, in the stack. But then because heap has grown so much, there is no place for the stack to grow anymore. Okay, so that is one problem that I may have. The other problem that I may have is this: say now I need to use allocate more space in heap, right? So stack is here, heap is here. I don't have any more space remaining for the heap to grow. Okay, so if I don't free up after using something, if I don't free up this memory in heap, then heap is eventually going to grow, and then I'm going to have an out of memory error. All right. So this is how I free up memory in heap. I simply use this function free, and then this pointer that I used to point to this heap, I simply call that. Okay. For example, age was pointing to this integer that was allocated, so I free up age. Okay, so that will remove this part, and now this part is available for some other variable that I may want to declare. Okay, then I am freeing up salary. This part is available. So these two are here, still here. Now if I want more memory in heap, so this memory can be allocated to me, right? And then yeah, with this for function I free up the entire heap, and then heap is now completely empty. Okay, so this is how I free up memory after in heap after I am done using them. All right, now you have to make sure that you don't free up memory if you need to use it in future. Okay, if you are very sure that this memory, that I stored some value in this memory, I am done using those values, I don't need that anymore. After that you are free to free up that space. Okay, so that was all about memory management in C. So we talked about what are all these different segments, right? This code segment, data segment, then you have heap, then you have stack. So I think you have now a very good idea of when to use what and how they are used. So yeah, uh, we are done talking about memory management in C. Now let us talk about memory management in C++. Okay, in C++, I have this keyword called new. Okay, instead of malloc, I can use this new keyword, and that is going to allocate memory for me in heap. Now stack uh, and data segment and code segment are going to be like before. Okay, there are differences that I will talk about later on. Okay, how an object actually works at the very end of the course. But right now, just imagine that all of the rest works almost similarly. Okay, no need to worry too much about them. But then let us talk about how heap memory is managed in C++. So how dynamic memory management can be done in C++. That is the focus uh, in the rest of this video. Okay. So instead of using this function called malloc in C, I am going to use this keyword called new in C++. So when I write this, I am creating a null pointer. I am creating a pointer that is not pointing anywhere. Okay. Then what is this pointer now pointing to? It is now pointing to some location in memory where I am going to store an int. So when I write new int, I am allocating memory in heap, to store an int. Okay, and the address, say the address of this place is in this line. I am there is some other place, maybe if this is inside this some function, this will be in stack. Okay, so this is now going to point to this address. This p is going to point, this is p is going to point to this address in heap. Okay, and then in this line what am I doing? I am writing in this address p is pointing to this address, right? So star p will do what? It will get set star p equal to 10 will set the value of this address pointed to by p to 10. Okay, star p equal to 10 means set the uh, star p means value, equal to means set the value equal to 10. Okay, so star p equal to 10, this is what it does. Okay, so simple thing, instead of writing malloc, this equivalent code in using malloc would be in star p in star malloc size of int. Alright, and then this would create this pointer variable p, which will point to this memory that is allocated in heap to store an integer. Okay, so p is pointing to that memory in heap, so I am going to use star p equal to 10. So these two things, this is how I would have written using malloc, this is how I write using new. Okay, so new is you can see very much simpler. Okay, and it is going to get even more simple. Let's go one by one. Okay, so these two line I can combine into one line, this line. Okay, so instead of writing int star p equal to null, so in this line I am creating a null pointer, p is pointing nowhere. Okay, it's a null pointer, and then I am making p point to some integer allocated to me in heap by writing p equal to new int. So instead of doing this in two different lines, I am going to uh, say p is first pointing to null pointer and then it is pointing to some place in heap. I am going to do these two things in one line. I am going to write int, so let me not write p, I am writing q, same thing, new int. Okay, now q is a pointer variable and it is pointing to some place in heap. Okay, new int will allocate memory for me in heap and it will allocate enough memory for me to store a integer. So this integer pointer is pointing to a space in heap where I will store an integer. Alright, so q holds the address of that memory location in heap where I am going to store this integer. And now let me store an integer in that location. I am going to write star q equal to 20. Okay, that will store 20 as a value in that location pointed to by q. Okay. Now these two lines I can combine them and make them in one line. Okay, so these two line I combined and I made it into one line, and now these two line I am combining and making it into one line. Okay, so what do? I say there is a pointer variable called r that is going to point to some location in heap. That location is in heap is big enough to store a int, and I am going to store 30 in that location. Okay, so previously I allocated memory in heap to store a integer, and in the next line I stored 20 in that location. Now in one line I am doing all this. In one line I am creating memory in heap to store an integer. I am storing some value at that memory, 30 in my case, and then I have this variable r, that is a pointer variable that is pointing to that location in heap. Alright. Then in the same way I can store a float, double, everything in heap. Okay. Now like before, when I allocated memory in heap uh, using malloc, I freed using this free function, right? So when I allocate memory in heap, I have to free them up. So in C, I use malloc function to allocate memory, and I use this free function to deallocate, to free up the memory. Here I am using new to allocate memory, and I use this delete keyword to free up the memory. So when I write delete P, I am freeing up the location that was allocated to me in heap, that was pointed to by this pointer variable P. Okay, so this is how I delete and free up. This is how I free up uh, memory allocated to me in heap. And of course, we talked about why we need to free up this heap memory once we are done using it. Okay, so yeah, uh, this is how dynamic memory management is done in C++, right? So two keywords, new and delete, that are unavailable in C but are available for you in C++. So one thing that I want to point out, this does not give us any added power. Okay, so we can use malloc and free like we were using in C. Okay, in C++ as well, because you notice that C is a subset of C++, so everything that we can do in C, we can do in C++. So malloc and free enabled us to do all these things, but then new and delete enables us to do these things in a more user-friendly way. Okay, it is easier to use this. The syntax is easier. Okay, so yeah, that is what we have. Next, let's go ahead and see how to allocate memory for an array. In C, using malloc, what we did, we created a pointer to the first index of the array, and I am going to store integer. So I write malloc. Okay, my array is going to be of size 10. So I am allocating 10 into size of int. I'm going to store 10 integer. So size of int is 4 byte. So 10 into 4 byte is 40 byte. So I'm allocating 40 byte for uh, in heap, and then this pointer P is pointing to the starting address of this 40 byte, and then because it's an integer pointer, I will access one integer at a time. Okay, so we already noticed that the name of an array is a pointer, so I can use a pointer as a name of an array. This is a integer type pointer, so if I use it as a name of an array, so I'm using it like this, so I'm using it as a array of integer. Right. So here I can in location index 0 of this array I am storing 1, in index 1 of this array I am storing 2, and so on. This is what I can do with uh, this uh, C using malloc and free. Okay, so once I am done using this array, I can free it up. So this is what I would have done using malloc and free. Okay, so these things become far easier in C++ using this keyword new. So how do I, instead of doing this, what do I write only this. Okay, I write in star p. Once again, it's a pointer variable. P is a pointer variable like before, that is pointing to some address in heap. So How do I allocate this address in heap? Previously I used this malloc function. Now I am going to write new int. So new int would have allocated memory for just one integer. I am going to write square bracket 10, and this would allocate memory for 10 integers, right? Here when I am writing this value, I am writing parenthesis in the previous line. Okay, this is not square bracket. Now I have square bracket. So remember these two difference. When I am allocating memory for 10 integers, I am using square bracket. Like in array we use square bracket. So here we are going to use as an array. So that is a good way of remembering this syntax. So syntax, of course, we have to remember. Okay, there is no reason why this could have not have been anything else, right? So just remember, syntax does not have deep logical meaning. The creator of C++ decided that it has to be a square bracket. If they had decided that this is going to be a dollar sign, then we would have used dollar sign. But then they decided this is going to be a square bracket, so we are going to use square bracket. There is no other deep meaning behind this. Okay, this is just syntax. Syntax we have to remember. You have to remember for your exam, but then in real life when you work in some company, you can of course look up in internet. Okay, so yeah, uh, talking about internet, your assignments, lab assignments are going to come very soon. Okay, after your first CIE, then in lab assignment, use the internet to do those assignments. So okay, I don't have any problem. Use the internet, learn from the internet, search on internet, use Stack Overflow, use Google. Okay, that is very good practice. But then don't look from others. Okay, don't look from your, just copy from your friends. Don't do that. Instead, copy from the internet, copy from strangers. That is a better thing to do. And when you copy from internet, I would not say copy. Copy is a bad word. When you look up on the internet, when you read this stuff on internet, don't copy code directly. Okay, try to understand every line that you are taking from the internet, right? Otherwise there is no point. If you are copying a piece of code from the internet, make sure you understand every line. Fine, let's go back and talk about allocating memory for an array in the heap. This is how we do this. We are allocating memory using this new keyword for integers. How many integers? 10 integers. Continuously we have allocated this amount of memory, and we are pointing to that using this pointer variable p. P is a pointer of type integer. Now when I write p0, I can use it as an array like I did here. Okay, now look at this difference. uh, Previously when I had simply a variable, right, R was simply pointing to a single integer where 30 is stored. There was a single integer. I wrote delete R. Now when I am deleting an array, I write delete square bracket and then the pointer pointing to the start of the array. He was pointing to the start of the array, so that is what I want to free. So I have to use this square bracket. Okay, with delete. So yeah, that is what I have. And finally, in memory management, let us look at how to allocate memory for an object in heap. Correct? So we have allocated integer, float, all this thing, array of integer in heap. But then in C++, objects are some of the most important thing. The reason we are studying C++, in fact, to store object. Now if my object that I have created were a global variable, it will go into data segment. If it were a local variable of some function, it will go into the object will be allocated memory in stack. But if I want to allocate memory for an object in uh, heap, okay, so this is what I do. I have some class car. Okay, don't worry about what is inside this class. uh, there is this one function and one constructor, so that is all we need to know, need to worry about. So this constructor is going to take brand name, uh, model, and year. Sorry, this is not year, this is int. So string int y. Okay, so I have this class car, and now I am going to create an object of this class car in heap. What do I do? I am going to write new class name, and because I have to pass strings to the constructor, what do I have to pass? One string, and one integer. So I am passing this Tata Tiago 2019. Okay, and then what does new return? New returns a pointer. So there is going to be pointer equal to car. Okay, so this is what I have. Okay. Normally, in what I would have done, I would have done car C 2019. This is how I would have I was creating object so far. So inside main, if I would have created an object in this manner, then this object would have been allocated memory in stack. But now I am creating using this new keyword. Okay, this part I have to put here as well. Okay, so the constructor is anyway going to be called whether I create this object in heap or I create this object anywhere. Okay, so the object is going to act naturally like it did before. So I have to pass a constructor. Constructor takes 3 parameters, so I'm giving this 3 parameter. Okay, so this is how I create. Here I would have gotten this object name directly. Here I am getting a pointer to that object, right? So when I create something in heap, whether using malloc or whether using new, I get a pointer pointing to that location in heap. Okay, so here I am getting a pointer of type car, and that pointer is pointing to an object of class car, and then this object is in heap. Okay, so yeah, this is what I have. This is how I create a object in heap. All right, this if you want to create a linked list of classes, okay, and you want to create this object in heap, this is the way you are going to do that. All right, so we have already talked that if I have a pointer to an object, okay, then I use this arrow. Okay, so I use uh, if this is my pointer pointing to this object of class car, to execute this print function I will write ptr arrow print, right? So this is how I think. This has got nothing to do with whether this pointer that I am pointing to, this object, whether it is in heap or it is in stack or wherever it is. Okay, if I am addressing some object through a pointer, okay, then I have to use this arrow. All right. So instead, had it been direct, okay, not a pointer, had it been the object itself, I would have written c dot print, right? But because this is a pointer, car ptr is a pointer, therefore I use this arrow print, car ptr arrow print. Okay, this is nothing new. This line should not be confusing to you. If this line is confusing, then I suggest you go back and watch previous videos. All right. So pointer to an object, we talked about these things in details. So yeah, this is how we allocate memory for an object in heap. We store an object in heap memory, and then we, using this new keyword, we create an object in heap, and then this is how we point to this object. And once we are done using this object, we can write delete car ptr, and that will free up our uh, heap. Okay, whatever memory was allocated for this object in heap, that memory will be freed up. All right. So yeah, this is how memory is allocated for an object in dynamically during runtime in heap. So in this video, we talked specifically about memory management in C in a very good detail. Okay, so I hope you understood everything. Uh, if not, then there are lots of things which are in details that you do not need, but all these programs that we executed, you need to understand the things that I started off by saying, this uh, virtual address and all these things. You don't need to know that for discourse, okay? But then subsequent thing, what is low memory, high memory, where uh, this uh, all these things, all these local variable of function, global variable, initialized, uninitialized, where they are going to go, all these things, you should have a very good idea about this. All right. We talked about this thing where all these local and global variables are going to go, and then a few interesting programs we saw regarding stack function, stack memory. Then this was one program where we talked about where all these things will go, and then we wrote this same program, not by allocating in previous program. In this program, we allocated uh, memory in stack, but in stack and in data segment, right? This mylist was in data segment, and all these other things were in stack. But here we are allocating everything in heap, right? So this is what we have. Then in this slide we continued the last program. We printed the address and saw for ourselves what was happening, what we discussed in the last slide. We printed those addresses and saw for ourselves that the things that we discussed in the last slide is actually true. Okay. Then we talked about this. What will be the problem if we simply keep on allocating memory for things, integer memory for data in heap. So heap will fill up pretty quickly, and then heap and stack is going to clash. So if they come very near, your stack cannot grow and your heap cannot grow. So ultimately you are going to have an error. So for that reason, we need to free up the heap once we are done using it. So this is how we free up the heap, and then that malloc and free we talked about uh, were used in C. Okay, but in C++ we can still use malloc and free like we did in C, because C is a subset of C++. But then C++ we have these two new keywords, new and delete, that enables us to do these things in a pretty user friendly way. These are very easier to use. Okay, the syntax is easier. So new and delete, we can allocate memory for integer in this 3 line, 2 line, or single line, whatever is your preference. We saw three different syntax. Then we saw how to allocate memory for an array of integer in heap, and how to access these different integers indexes of this array. Okay, then we talked about how to allocate memory for an object in heap. Okay, so this ends our review classes. So this is the third review class, and this ends our review classes. All right, in the next class we are going to start abstract data type. So I hope you understood everything in this video. If not, then do reach out to me through WhatsApp or through mail or through this comment section below. Write your doubts anywhere. All right. Uh, so if you have doubt, do reach out. Don't go forward with doubt. That will make subsequent uh, chapters too difficult. And of course, there is exam. Okay, better to ask question and score good in exam than to not ask question and score bad in exam. Okay, your marks matters no matter what anyone tells you. So yeah, that is what it is. In our next video we are going to start with this topic, abstract data type. So thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next video.